Welcome. Welcome to a special edition here on a beautiful Sunday. Thank you for joining me. I'm glad you've taken the time today to be with us. It's not often we do a Sunday presentation, but today's a special day. And we welcome you back. This is Malcolm Out Loud here. As we do our worldwide stream and presentation, we welcome you in from around the world. It's great to have you with us. We've invited back and an honor to have with us at the studio here, and many of you may not even know, but our studios are in Tampa, Florida. And I don't always say that on the screen, but I'll tell you today where we're at. How's that? Sometimes we're traveling and you never quite know where we're at, huh? But we have back with us a guest that you've met before, Vassula Ryden. And you might recall in meeting Vassula was the very first time we did a live stream. Now listen, I've been doing this, as you know, the live show here, as many of you know, for well over 3 years now. But we hadn't really done live streams yet, so this was obviously the next step for us. And as I said to Vassula the first time I had met her, I said, well, are you up to doing a live stream? And I thought, you know, if we're going to do this, let's do it with a messenger from God, and let's make the subject to God so we couldn't possibly go wrong. How you doing? How are you?
I'm fine, Malcolm.
Well, good to have you back with us. And let me remind folks up front a little bit, if you haven't seen or heard Vassula before, you can, well, first of all, you can go on a search engine and Google or Bing her, Vassula, V-A-S-S-U-L-A, and Ryden, but it's spelled R-Y-D-E-N when you look that up, and you'll see all kinds of information. This is not a gig for Vassula. She's been at this for some time, and we've met a couple, 3 months ago. Well, actually, it's been longer than that, Vassula.
I think it is 3 months ago.
It's been February, March, I believe. So we're in June here, but it's been a little while. And we certainly have had a great connection and a love affair ourselves, and I think you'll see that with some of the message today. But let me tell you, first of all, the book that we talked about early on was Heaven is Real, But So Is Hell, was released this March, this year, 2013, in March. And the book is fascinating. I have read the entire production, and it's an eyewitness account of what is to come. And basically, it's the messages that Vassula has from really very young in some of the signs that she had seen to many years later on in her, in her 20s and 30s and 40s. And she's, what, 37, 38 now, I think, right? But anyway, women's not supposed to tell their age, right?
You're not supposed to speak about that.
I'm sorry. Well, I get called on it all the time. Well, we're here to talk to you today about unity in the church, Vassula, and the importance of it. And I think there's some real ideas that people can learn here. And I want to tell folks again up front here, they can go to a website, tlig.org, True Life in God, tlig.org. And you'll find, don't do it now, stay where you're at on the screen, but do it in a little bit unless you have a second monitor. And you'll get a lot more information on Vassula and the movement, the worldwide movement, which started, as I believe, 27 years ago, as I recall.
27 years ago, 1985.
1985,
yes.
Vassula, this was an endeavor that is beyond this world, first of all. I mean, okay. And we'll talk a little more. We're going to talk a lot today about the pilgrimage. We're going to tell folks about the pilgrimage, the journey forward. But let's start, please, if I might, before we get into the pilgrimage exactly. And you folks are in for a treat when you find out more about this, as I have, Yeah. True Life in God, the movement. Okay, Vassula?
Actually, you call it movement. I don't call it movement.
Okay.
But it's a title that has been given to me from Jesus, to call this message, if you want, True Life in God, a true life in God. Now, from 1985, I was called by God in this special way, and that is a gift given to me, for not just for me, but through me to transmit it to people. And now we're talking about 27 years, so you can imagine how much study was over this revelation that I've been receiving from Jesus and the Father, God the Father. It has been studied by theologians in mystical theology who are renowned theologians, and it has been studied by the church as well, the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church, because I belong in the Orthodox Church. Now they have made studies on it, whether it's a true, authentic calling from God, because there is the gift. I mean, it exists, the gift exists. This is called locutions. When you receive a call from God and you can hear Him and He gives you visions and all this, this is called locutions. And I've had that now for 27 years. Many messages were given for our times. And of course there will be other people who say they also have messages, but one has to discern whether they are from God or from not from God, or from their own spirit, or they just are invented. I don't know. But this message of true life in God, if you go into the website, you'll see how many people have been supporting this, who are theologians, bishops, archbishops, and they have studied it. It's something that I have never asked. It's a gift that I've never searched for, never asked, never wanted it, you know, and that was a calling from God. And until I say yes to the calling of God, I went really through a lot of spiritual fires, purifications and all this. So all this is my story in this new book, actually. Heaven is real, but so is hell.
Right.
And it is, you know, I wrote it so that people who doubt perhaps of the spiritual world, I have been given signs and facts that the spiritual world does exist. The angels, our guardian angels, and also the demons exist as well. And God's mercy is shown through all these messages that I've been receiving. Because I'll tell you one thing. When I asked why did you choose me? I mean, I've been a person who's been away from the church, never praying, didn't care about any spiritual thing. In fact, so bad that when I used to take a magazine and they spoke about God, I used to bleep over. So I was a person very far away from God, never searched, never wanted anything like that. And then it came to me, this calling. And I won't go into detail because that will take a long time. But I'm just saying, when I asked him, why did you choose me? I was away from church. I didn't pray. It was a question. He said to me, did you not know that wretchedness attracts me? Through your wretchedness, I shall show the world my mercy. And when I said, I know nothing, you know, when the Lord started to talk, especially about the church, which I had no clue about the church, I thought the church, the Christians were one, I thought. Imagine.
Well, I think most people think that.
Like
yeah.
one church,
yeah.
and that's it.
Right.
And that's what I believe, because I didn't know there were divisions and different names for the Christians.
Okay. Yeah.
So when I said, but I don't know anything, he said, remain nothing. Through your nothingness, I shall show my power, my authority, and that I am.
Okay.
So that was a calling for this mission, but it wasn't put to me straight away, like, you know, I'm going to talk to you about the problems of the church and about unity and the division and all that. No. What the Lord wanted from the very beginning, that's like a teaching, also like a school, True Life in God. He wanted, first of all, to purify me through spiritual fires, through repentance. That's a key word, you know, repentance, which we don't think we should repent. What did I do wrong? I didn't steal, I didn't kill, so why should I repent? You know, people are so full of their ego that there's no connection with God. So one has to die to one's ego, self, crucify self, so that the Holy Spirit invades you with His light, and then you become part of God, you know, in God and living in God.
Vassula,
but that's a procedure. That's a way of approaching God.
I want to ask you, before we go too far here, please. You mentioned earlier in the messages and the voices that you were receiving in your communications with God, and you mentioned about different people having different messages and voices. and I don't know that you can answer this question, but I think I should ask it because I think most people would want to know. How can one really know? You just talk about their angel and the Holy Spirits and or demonic forces around you, or other aspects of, or your inner conscience and your spirit. How does one know between all of these and differentiate, really? And I mean, is there an answer to that in knowing with God? Or what I'm saying is, would somebody get one of these others and say, well, I've been speaking to God, and maybe it wasn't?
That's very difficult, yes. And that is, you have to have the gift of discernment. Discernment is, but then also there are the fruits. If they are good fruits and continuously good fruits, it is from God. Like now it's 27 years, but you'd say, well, what are the good fruits? Actually, the biggest miracle that can happen is not that a blind man will see or a lame person to walk. It is conversion, a change of heart. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking now a true conversion, like rediscovering God, getting to know God, getting to understand God. About, if you say, well, it could be from your spirit, all these messages, which is really a thick book now. It cannot be, because I've never had any catechism.
Right.
I never had any catechism and no teachings, spiritual matters. Secondly, it leaves either Satan or God. There are two more things. Satan, all these 27 years, would he try to change the people into living a life like an unceasing prayer? And if they are Catholics, they will go to their Catholic church, to the sacraments of the Catholic Church. Orthodox will go to the Orthodox Church. Anglican will go to their church. We're not talking about putting them all in their own Baptist church. They will go. When they were baptized in an Anglican church, they'll go to their church. This is all what it's called unity in diversity. So there is this happening. There are the good fruits. And through these fruits, the people who were really changed their heart through these messages and gone back to the scriptures and learned the scriptures and went back to their church. When I had the calling to open houses for the poor, and we have now 32 houses around the world, these same people are volunteer workers who were converted, let's say, changed, in these houses helping out and feeding the poor. So there is the good fruit. There is something coming out. I never wanted this thing to happen to me. I was a happy housewife, and I'm still happy housewife, but with God this time.
Yeah.
Because now God is a plus in my life. Before I was just aloof from God. I had my own little life. I used to play tennis day and night. I had my friends. I didn't miss anything. It wasn't like a crisis came into my family that suddenly I say, where could I cling on? And sometimes people cling on God because of that crisis.
Well, all right. I want to move the conversation along a little bit now and I want to talk a little more about the importance of the unity in the church. And I want, folks, I want you to understand a little more about the power of this and the position of this and why it's important. And also, I don't know, I have a different belief system, Vassula, a little bit, in the fact that I think a lot of people are scared of religion. They're very scared of this, and they see it around, and they actually run from it. And many times, I think, and I know because I talk to people, they talk back to me on this.
Sometimes they had bad experiences with the local...
With the church.
With the church. Or the priest, sometimes that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And they see that, and then they classify religion and church as God. Now, talk to me on that a moment. What am I missing? You've got here, because I hear this all the time. I hear it all the time, very much. Church, religion, God. How do we fit all this? How do we...
Well, I have many people, let's say from my side, who I'm living now in Greece, and I'm Orthodox, and I go to my church and all this. A lot of people would tell me, why should I go back to the church when I know that this priest has done some scandals? And I say, look, just go for God, go for Jesus. Go in there for Jesus. Don't Don't go for the priest or for whoever is there inside. Just go, and then they will say, well, I can pray from home. Yes, but Jesus, he has made, the church is, all of us, we are the church. We are the church, and we are the mystical body of Christ, and the head of this mystical body is Christ himself. Still, we have these priests, we have the clergy, who can guide us sometimes. And it's not everybody who's mean or, who has done something evil. There are a selection of good priests also.
Vassula, if somebody wants to pray from home and they want to worship at home,
it's
for whatever
good.
Reason, it's okay.
Great.
And
Actually, remember what Jesus said to me in the unceasing prayer, meaning at home as well, praying.
All right. But if they do not want to go to church to worship and they want to worship in a home or other places, is this okay?
Look, I mean, I won't feel comfortable to stay home as an Orthodox and not go to my church as well, the temple of God.
You would not feel comfortable?
No, I wouldn't, because I was brought up in this church and I would go to my church. And I know that Catholics would feel the same. Others who are outside, let's say Protestants and all this, okay, if they feel that they are connected to God that way, it's good.
Okay. All right. So, listen, I grew up in the Protestant religion in the Nazarene church, okay, as I've shared with you before. And a pretty strict church, And as a young man in Sunday school in church was every week a thing for us to worship and, and what have you. And I seen, listen, yeah, sure. I've seen a lot of conflicts in the church, yes. But I also seen, Vassula, a lot of hypocrites, for real. I'm not going to go, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I'm just going to touch a moment, okay? Because I'm driving a point here when we talk about unification of the church, okay, and what we're talking about. And I've seen a lot of people, to me, and again, it's just me speaking, that were out, by golly, they thought they could sin between Monday and Saturday and act like, whatever, and then come in Sunday and everything was perfect again, you know what I mean? And they'd start the ritual again on Monday, and they go through the next Saturday, and they come in Sunday again, and everything is perfect again, and this is the way it kind of followed. It seemed to me like they weren't living their life in the way of what they said they were when they were in church on Sunday. So I always wondered that, with church. And so I'm trying to understand the importance of church, and which I know myself, but I want folks to understand when you're talking about, worship, it's a place to worship. And now we talk about unification of the church. Now here's the thing. You have all these religions worldwide, okay? And like all of us, like our cultural differences, our cultural diversity, it makes us unique. You're unique. You're Greek, you're born in Egypt, very unique. And me, as you know, I have my own background, very unique and different. We're all a bit different and unique in this world, But it's the same thing with religion in the way that each religion, and I think they have interpreted many of the principles and even the Bible in many cases their own way. This is me speaking now. Why is the importance of unification, unifying the church, so important?
First of all, I'm not here with you to criticize anybody. That's God is the judge. Okay, we keep this away from criticism. Why does God want? Let me just tell you the beginning of when He talked to me. When I say He, it's Jesus, about the importance of unity among Christians. First, He gave me a vision of 3 iron bars. Now, these are interior visions. They're called visions on the intellect. That's the proper word. And when I saw that, because when the Lord gives a vision, He just doesn't give you a vision without Him making you understand what it means. Otherwise, it's useless. So immediately He made me understand that these are representing the 3 iron bars, the Protestant churches, the Orthodox, and the Catholic Church. Iron bars stiff next to each other. When I saw this for the first time, that He was going to talk about the church, I didn't like it. Because I said, so far he was talking about how to approach him, how to pray. He was teaching me the scriptures. Every day Jesus used to come and teach me. And and I thought that was great. It was like tête-à-tête, as we say in French, between him and I, and it was lovely. It was wonderful. It was awesome. But then comes these problems of the church, and I wasn't happy. I took my car and I went straight to the marketplace to forget, you know. But the vision was there. It wasn't leaving me. Anyway, to make a long story short, I came back when he told me, pupil, you have fallen, stand up and go back and draw this vision. And I went back, I drew the iron bars, it's in my books, in the book now. And he said, how are we to make their heads meet unless they bend, all of them, not just one or the three of them, in humility and love? For this is the key to unity. Why is it important for Christ to unify us? Because when he left us one church. He left us with one church. And from that church, today he doesn't say it became in 3 parts. He says you managed to make it into splinters. Splinters. And this division does not come from God, because anything which is divided comes from we know who. From the divider, from the accuser, from the devil. And so, when the church is in splinters and they don't agree, what happens? It becomes so weak, because the Lord gave me a word which I didn't know. And my English is okay, but not perfect. When he said, I have to consolidate my church. When he said consolidate, I said, what is this word? But then I found out in the dictionary, to strengthen my church. Now the church divided is weak. Many perhaps will disagree. But that is the trouble. They don't agree. When the church is in splinters, that is bad.
Okay. That is the best explanation I've heard to date. Oh, that's just, it tells, it's exactly it. I mean, that helped me out a lot, you know, just to understand that. Now, and we're going to talk a lot more about this here, but I have been watching, because I was not personally at the pilgrimages, the previous ones. There have been, up to date, 8 of these up to now?
8, and this is the 9th one.
9th one this August.
This August.
August 25th.
25th.
Yeah. Okay. August 25th in the year 2013, okay, will be the 9th pilgrimage, and this one will be in the Holy Land, and they've been all around the world.
Yes, well, mainly where Jesus passed and St. Paul,
Right.
apostle.
Right. So the chances of having one in this area probably is not going to be there. Maybe we bring them over, huh, Vassula? So, all right. But now I watched these. I had the chance to watch the Rome, Italy one in 2011.
Yeah.
Okay. I had the chance to watch the 2002 one in Egypt, which is where you were born.
Well, that is where Jesus and the Holy Family went for 4 years, they say, in Egypt, hiding from Herod.
And I've seen the passage through there and the lake behind and the church they built and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And the sites are amazing on these here. Are these available through the web? Do you know, are these available?
Yes, we can get them through
TLIG?
the web.
Yes, they're available in there. Anyways, so I watched them, and they're interesting because you really get a perspective in like an hour or two about this like week-long event that went on for like, it's like fast forward on the DVD, but you can understand that, of course. It's not really like they're going, they're not really doing that, but it is kind of condensed into an hour or two, right?
Yes.
And it's really nice because you've got the whole, you can see the fellowship, but what gets me on this and what just blows your mind is when you see these processions, when you open up and you see all of these religions coming down the walkway in is this usually in a church somewhere?
No, we can't have that in a church. We are about 800 people,
gotcha. Okay. Yep.
And about 100 clergy from 16, 17 church denominations. They're all there.
So how many again?
16 to 17 church denominations.
Yeah. And the clergy is usually about 100 or so?
About 100,
100 or so, yeah. And you got just, give us an example of the kind of clergy that are there.
Well, there would be the Armenian Church, the Catholic Church, the Protestant churches. There would be evangelicals. There would be Syriac Church. There would be Coptic Church, Ethiopian Church, Romanian Church. You know, all the Russian Church. And then they would dress with their vestments, which are, you know, it's so awesome to see them walking together. That's so beautiful, like one body.
Yeah.
Walking together, and then in the procession they come and take the microphone and they say their name, from which church they are, and so that they introduce themselves to the crowd.
What gets me, though, is as I look at the couple of things, a lot of things, I was, was moved by seeing these. Okay, and one of them was when you would have a certain minister or priest or somebody was speaking, you know, and they would do a special service with all of the people there. And you could really sense and get a message from them of the vibe you got from them, the vibration about what I got from it was their sincerity, their concern, their deep passion for what needed to happen here. And some of them, you could also tell, in my opinion, that they were going out on a limb, knowing that their church may not agree with it, or others may not agree with it in the church. Now, am I wrong, or am I right?
I think the whole church actually is struggling now for years to become, you know, together, reconciliation, and it is going to be a unity. What they're aiming at, it is a unity in diversity. So it doesn't mean that the Orthodox will become Catholics or the Anglicans will become, Orthodox. You stay as you are, but be together. That's the calling from Jesus. Be together around one altar and pray together. That means becoming one body. Reconciliation and peace. Make peace with one another. Because till today they are still fighting, mind you.
Right.
They're still fighting.
Right.
It was so beautiful to see. I mean, it's so, you get all emotion, you know, when we saw one of the Catholic priests falling on the feet of the Orthodox priest, kissing his feet and asking to be forgiven. And then it happened all around. Then they started to fall on each other's feet, kissing their feet and asking to be forgiven for the mistakes of the past or misunderstandings. And so in the end, there is a unity, which is what will happen in the future. And believe me, in these pilgrimages, you have a foretaste of what unity will be like.
Yeah.
A foretaste.
Well, some of the sights and sounds that I've seen on these pilgrimages are amazing. When you take a look at Turkey and Greece and Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and some of the various places that this pilgrimage has happened. And again, this year will be in the Holy Land. I will be there in the Holy Land this particular year for the 9th annual pilgrimage. And we'll bring you some special broadcast, I'm sure, from there that we are planning to do. But there's a lot more I want you to know about this. As I started to watch more and more of this, it was just truly amazing when you see these people coming together. But what I want to question ahead with Vassula is this. It seems to me that they're asking a great deal within the pilgrimage and the messages I'm hearing that we need unity in the church, and that you can feel the voices, and you can feel the strength, and you can see all this happening. However, it seems to me like it's already happening, and it seems to me that I get the feeling maybe they don't think they've accomplished their goal yet, and we'll find out in a moment what that real big goal is, but it seems to me like it's already happening with true life in God. Now, I refer to it as a momentum because I think that it takes momentum to have any movement around the world if you're going to get people to move to a higher purpose, whatever it is, and that's, again, me speaking. But we'll find out more from Vassula as we get back here in just a moment again. And in the meantime, for the next minute or so, go check out tlig.org. It's a good site to get more information on Vassula, or you can Google her, what have you, and Vassula Ryden, and find out more about True Life in God. And we're going to be back in just a moment. We're going to pause just a minute or two. We'll be right back with you here at Malcolm Out Loud. Stay with us. It's Malcolm all out here. Thank you for joining us. It's wonderful to have you with us, and I know you're tuning in from around the world, and we're thankful to have you on this Sunday afternoon. Joining me again on the set in the studio, we're privileged to have Vassula Ryden. And again, as I've shared with you before, a true life in God. If you're just joining us now, it would be tlig.org. tlig.org. And that's where you can tune in. So, there's a lot to talk about when we talk about the pilgrimage and we talk about this movement, Vassula, that we ended with break, okay? And I want to start there, and I want to ask you, we talk about unification of the church and the importance of this. Mm-hmm. Bring me back to the message, please, when this happened and you decided to make this movement happen.
Well, it started by the messages that were given to me by Jesus about the church being divided and how weak the church has become. And when the first time, actually, when I saw Jesus in a vision, interiorly, I saw him with the eyes of my soul, and his question was, which house is more important, your house or my house? And when I said your house, which I knew he was talking about the church, he said, revive my house, embellish my house, and unite my house. Now, when I heard this, in the state I was in the beginning, where I had no catechism, I had no idea about church matters, I simply said, Lord, I know nothing. So how can I do what you're asking? And he said, I want a nothing, remain a nothing. I want a simple canvas, white canvas, where I can put all my work on that canvas. So remain nothing, and in fact, die to yourself and allow my Holy Spirit to breathe in you. Allow me to form you and mold you into what I want you to be. That was the beginning. So when he spoke about the house, was revive, embellish, and unite my house. And then he gave me the vision of these 3 iron bars that represented the Catholic Church, the Protestant churches, and the Orthodox Church. So how are we going to make them bend, those iron bars, so that their heads meet, the 3 of them, unless they bend in humility and love, because that is the key to unity. And Jesus does not talk about us changing and all this. He wants a unity in diversity. A unity in diversity. One day, when at that time I was living in Bangladesh, and there was only one church there, which was the Catholic Church. And I was asked to go and meet the priest there by Jesus. So I said, how am I going to present myself as an Orthodox to the Catholics? And he got so upset. And he shouted. He said, Orthodox, Catholics, Protestants, you are all the same to me. You all belong to me. And he didn't like me saying, I will go and say I'm an Orthodox. So you see, what we have done, we have really become, so divided, and the Lord doesn't want that. So the Lord was saying to me, I have the lances, the blade of the lance. Remember when he was on the cross and the Roman just put the spear in him, the blade. He says, the blade is still in my heart. Pull it out. Now this is mystical language. Later on, much later on, he made me understand what the lance's blade is in the heart. It's the division of the church. It hurts him so much. He says, my heart is filled with thorns. Pull out those thorns from me. That means those thorns represented those who say they work for the Lord and they are hypocrites. Take them out. Expose them. Pull them out. Pull them out in which way? Here is Vassula, a housewife. With which strength? In which way? But the Lord showed me how to go about. That means by making pilgrimages, retreats, it's good. It heals the church.
Well, this is what's really, really amazing about this, okay? So you see, you watch the pilgrimage, okay? And you see all of these religions come together, and you see the procession, and you just know something is happening here. You just know. Whatever your faith level is on the meter, you know something is happening here, okay? And then you see, what's amazing is, you see these again, pastors, ministers, priests, monks, everyone.
Monks too,
monks,
yes.
they're all
from Mount Athos, from Greece.
Yeah.
Mount Athos is very closed, you know.
Yeah.
But there are two monks who are coming from Mount Athos.
Okay.
And we forget to mention that it's not only Christians who come. There's also Buddhists, Hindus, and Muslims.
Why are they coming, Vassula?
Because they like to feel that they are loved. And when I speak about God, our Creator, that He is our Father, they love it. They love this effort that we are all making to reconcile with one another.
Because we're talking here about humanity.
And we are all creatures of God.
We're speaking about
and
humanity.
that's what I'm presenting.
Yeah. Well, but what's really funny about this, though, is when you watch this and you see the pilgrimage, and I'm sure when you're live there, and I will see it myself this next year here, this year in August. Then you see this woman there, this lady with blonde hair. Looks very similar to Vassula. So, well, it is a striking pose. I mean, and you're there with all of the, they're all in their dress, right, Vassula, and their attire,
Yes.
very formal. And then many of them have begun to acknowledge, I notice. And I know you are very, I know you don't carry an ego with this. I understand this, and I don't, I don't ask you that. I don't need to ask you that. But I know that there are other people there who have understand what you've done here, and they understand. This is beyond anything I could ever imagine.
There's a lot of support from them.
The true life in God, though, the entire mission and the movement that says that, again, you have here, it's an inter-religious pilgrimage. In the footsteps of the Holy Family was the Egypt one again in 2002. And I just find it all just amazing. It's just, you have to take in the moment and understand. And then when you see, all right, so when somebody comes on this pilgrimage, somebody who, maybe it's somebody who is looking for answers in their life. Maybe they're already there as a Christian, maybe they're not. Mm. But they know this is a place where they can really understand and see what's...
That we are one under God's eyes.
The big picture, yeah. The splinters, as you mentioned. I love that description of the splinters,
Getting together.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you could just take that and really understand what you're speaking about. Mm. And then you understand back when he left us initially and there was one church, as you say.
Yeah.
And you forget that, Vassula. You don't remember. I mean, I wasn't here at the moment, so I don't know. But you have to bring it all the way back to say, okay, there was only one church. And like everything else with human beings, we sort of make it complicated, It's,
it is better to say the church is still one, because the body of Christ is one, the mystical body. But the people of the church divided themselves.
But now, all right, so here's my real question on this, so I don't forget. When I watch these now, it seems to me like you're already unified. You've already been successful in this, from what I can see. So what am I missing? What's the big goal? What's the goal after all of this?
Well, Malcolm, the official church, as we call it, that means the officials, the top, like the Pope, like the Patriarch, like the leaders of the Protestant church, they will have to announce everything, I would say, this kind of unity, because we are foretasting a unity already, how the church will be, being together, reconciled, and sharing together, praying together. It has to be announced officially and practiced. Not only announced, practiced. They have not done it yet. So this is already, the Lord is doing what is the impossible. In fact, when he used to tell me, do your best and I'll do the rest. It rhymes even, and I like it. Do your best and I shall do the rest.
I like it, yeah.
Do your best. You can't just sit there and say, all right, well, I can't do anything. He leads you. He leads you. He opens the doors. And one day when I was frustrated and I said, oh, nothing is really working, the doors are being closed and everything for other matters, I saw him with a bunch of keys. He says, I've got all the keys. I'll open the doors when I want to. So you say sometimes, I mean, why doesn't he just do it? I mean, he has all the power. He's got all the authority, God. Why doesn't he do it? Why doesn't this happen? But he waits from us to unify first the dates of Easter. This is also important.
Right, let's talk about that in a moment. But I want to say back to you, in my opinion, it sounds to me, Vassula, like this is all, like many things, it's a test.
It's a test. Well, of course, it's persecuted. Sometimes they don't agree and all this. But this is part of the whole mission. And I will say any persecution is good because the Lord says through persecution you're sanctified. So they make it very good for us sometimes.
There you go. That's a wonderful way to put it, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk a moment, I don't want to get too far down a long explanation, but in the point of two Easter dates, for folks to, listen, I don't think many people understand, first of all, or they're not paying attention within the scope of it, that this actually is, that there are two Easter dates.
Because the churches do not agree, the people of the church do not agree.
Okay. All right, so what has to happen for that to happen then,
well, this
to bring
is
it back to one?
You know, Malcolm, this is one of the most, the most important feast we have in Christianity that proves the resurrection, the resurrection of Christ, that proves his divinity, see? And yet the devil made it impossible. He divided us to ridicule us in the eyes of the non-Christians. So they say, look at the Christians. They have that feast which is supposed to be the resurrection of Christ and prove the divinity of Christ, and yet one does it in this month, and then the other church does it in the other month. And this year, the Orthodox Church with the Protestant and Catholic Church had the different dates. 1 month's difference. 1 month.
So we can't even get that right.
Not even that right.
Yeah.
So the Lord is asking the dates of Easter to be unified. Now, let me just say, this is not from the message, but this is Vassula speaking. I think that this Pope, Francis, will do something about the unification of the dates of Easter.
Vassula, I know you met the Pope when he, just before becoming Pope, when he was Cardinal, and very interested, as you know, Pope Francis we're speaking about as a new Pope. And do you, I know you don't maybe know the answers, well, do you think you'll meet him again here?
God knows.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I don't know.
So I understand, and there are a lot of factors involved in these things, you know, and what have you. And typically, you know, again, with the church, typically when they get to that level, although he seems to be more approachable.
Oh, yeah. He's approachable much more than the others.
Exactly. He seems to be. And again, I bring it back to, it seems to me like Pope John Paul seemed very approachable to me, you know.
Yes, he was also.
I didn't see that with Benedict. He was more reclusive, you know, just not really as available, maybe. I don't know, whatever it was. And again, but you know, even all religions, because they look at the Pope as a central person, even other religions do, and they know that because, let's face it, there's more Catholics, you know,
anybody
on the planet, and so it's interesting. Okay, so maybe Pope Francis is this, and maybe that is part of the blessing with him there, and maybe, just maybe, because you've spoke to him before and he knows you, that might happen, and just maybe, because you spent 45 minutes with him, and we
spoke about unity.
Yes, just maybe.
Yes, and when I said about the dates of Easter, I didn't know he would become Pope.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he said, I know the difficult issues the Orthodox have, so they cannot move their date, because we are already divided among us. So it is easier for us Catholics to move the date and shift it to join the Orthodox.
The problem will be, it's not just the Pope, it's the entire church. It's
the entire church,
he's the Pope, sure, but I'm sure that...
but you know, let me say something. This is the will of God, to be united and especially to have one date. Because when Jesus said, let them be one, Father, so that they will understand that you have sent me. Like, you know. Well, let me say, Jesus said about the dates of Easter, unity and unity will happen, because this is the will of the Father. But I'm asking it from the people. Either it's going to be with peace terms or by fire.
Right.
So we will have to face either the fire, or it's going to happen by us.
Right.
But unity will happen.
And I understand that, and this makes sense to me. Understand the message of that exactly.
Yeah.
So, totally get that.
Yeah.
So we understand now the importance of the pilgrimage and the 27-year journey that brings it to, again, now the 9th pilgrimage that
it's going to be for 9 days.
For 9 days. And, what's amazing about this now, so this is the 9th pilgrimage, and in the Holy Land, but this is the first time, folks, that they've had Malcolm out loud there. So, I don't know. Anyways, I've watched these.
There's so many Americans coming. We
Well,
have
yeah,
in the list.
This, from what I understand from some of the conversations earlier, some years, right, that you sometimes only had 2 or 3 from America there, and said, "Oh, come on, we got to get the Americans there because this is worldwide movement." Again, as I say, but actually this year it seems like you already have 100.
Already 100 Americans coming.
First time ever.
First time ever.
Wow.
First time ever.
And this is, and so we're talking here, and and you remember this has been going on, this is a lot of years, do the math.
We have 50 countries coming.
50 countries.
50 countries.
Wow. It's absolutely amazing. And when you see, and the other thing I got from this is the chance you get to rub elbows with a lot of interesting people, I think. There's a fellowship, I'm speaking. You see what I like? I just love, I said to you yesterday, I love the diversity in all of us, the cultural diversity. I said to you, how boring would it be, Vassula, if we all looked the same and acted the same on this planet? And these people who is the bigotry and racist and ignorance, and I never understood that. I never subscribed to that. And I think this is what makes us more interesting as people.
Yes.
The shapes and sizes and colors and uniqueness and heritage and background. I think it's fascinating.
It is like a garden with different flowers.
It is.
Yeah.
So it seems to me like the unity of this is an amazing message. And I want to say to you, within your journey in all of these years, within the scope of the message to start the True Life in God, which you've set up as a foundation, and I know full well, and I will tell you right now, that, and I know when Vassula has done these things, she didn't do these things for herself. This was her messages from God. So like the monies that come from these books and the tapes and the things and all of the things that they have all go, again, to the foundation. That's all been set up that way. She doesn't take anything, even her commission.
The foundation, let me correct you here.
Please.
It is not actually the foundation.
Okay.
It is the houses that we have for the poor,
all right,
and for reproducing books.
I want to clarify something because I
Yes.
get confused on this. So now you bring that up again, and I want to understand. So you have to help me out here. The houses of the poor. Tell
Bet Miriam, we call them.
Okay, yep. And I know you gave me a DVD I'm going to take a look at. I haven't seen this yet.
Yeah,
so
okay.
please tell me more. When did this start? I have to understand this, the houses of the poor.
Well, it started a couple of years back that I saw a vision, and I heard the voice of our Blessed Mother saying, it's not enough to give spiritual food to the people, but also you'll have to feed the poor. Immediately I felt it in my heart that this was really a message. I have to announce it. And since I know a lot of people around the world, because I traveled a lot, and we have prayer groups all over the world praying for unity, I asked the people, can you help me? Immediately they had a calling. Okay, I can open a house, I can rent a place, and they are helping now to feed the poor. And we have one account, which is called the Bet Miriam account,
okay,
for people who want to give some help, donations for these houses.
Okay. These are in all different countries, yes?
And from the books we gather the money and we put it into there.
So
Yes.
all different countries?
Different countries.
Everywhere?
Everywhere.
Is there one in the States? Any in the States?
There was one in Los Angeles. There was one, they closed, but there will be another one opening because recently somebody has offered us a house.
Okay.
They say you can take our house and make a Bet Miriam there.
Okay.
So this will happen.
Where will that be? What city? Do you know?
Not yet.
Not
I
yet,
don't
okay.
know.
All right.
I didn't take much information.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
All right, so that will happen here again. And then, so, and how many houses of the poor are there? How many?
32.
32. And they're all abroad. They're all in different
Abroad,
countries.
there's in Venezuela, in Brazil, in Egypt, in Bangladesh, in India,
Okay.
in Africa.
Okay. And so it's all feeded. So again, so the receipts from all these go to the houses of the poor.
Yes.
I see. Okay, now
For me, I don't take any royalties from my books, nothing.
I know that. Yeah. As an author, you can, to remind folks, you are able to, you get a percentage. You don't get it all. The publisher and the other people get something like everything, but you always get a percentage.
Yes.
It's usually 10, 15%, something like that.
Yeah.
And
even, the messages True Life in God are translated in 42 languages.
The book is?
So there are, yes,
yeah.
42 languages, not this book, the True Life in God messages.
Okay.
And
the messages. Okay. Oh, because, the messages are in books.
In books.
Yes, that's right. That's right. I've seen them all. Yeah. They're fascinating, yeah. And these are all the messages, again, that Vassula has received over many, many decades.
27 years.
Yeah. Okay, and so how do the houses of the poor then, how does this all work into the True Life in God, to the foundation?
Well, the foundation was made for administration issues.
I see.
And for copyrights and all that. Nothing more than that, And we have the account for Bet Miriam. People know about it. If they want to give donations there, they give it. And anything extra is reproduction of the books, because they cost to reproduce.
I see.
And then my travelings.
Right.
The mission.
Right, the mission, yes.
Yes.
Which is really it, and this is where. But the other thing I want to mention.
And then we invite all these clergy. We pay for them.
Yes. You've done some, real quickly, some fascinating art as well. Vassula is truly amazing. Some art that is an absolute gift. That just is. In fact, the piece of Jesus Christ that is on the TLIG website is one that you created, which is just amazing. I've used it several times on pieces to promote the show and when you're going to be here. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's breathtaking.
I used to paint a lot in the past.
Yeah. Well, I was so impressed with her work and the 8 pieces she has done to signify this work, this body of work, if you will. I had said to her some months ago, I said, you really should try to, I know you're busy, but you should try to get a couple of new pieces together. I told her a while back, I said, I know you're busy, but wouldn't it be nice? She's such a gifted artist, too, and I thought this is a great way to give back. And she told me yesterday, she said, Malcolm, I'm taking some time. I put aside in the calendar to do a couple of new pieces. That was big news.
2 more.
Yeah, 2 more. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Good work there, yeah.
Thank you.
I think the artwork is a wonderful representation of many things as your gift and your vision, because you paint these, as I understand, just from, you don't have you're
I need a model sometimes. So somebody has to stay there, and then I change the face.
I see, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And these are pretty, did you tell me you do a piece of art like this, and how long?
A portrait, because I'm a portraitist, can take 2 hours.
That's it?
Yes.
So the work I've seen,
yeah.
Some of that, you're talking?
One of them took me exactly 2 hours. Another one, I was struggling a little bit more. It took 3 days.
Okay. But this work, I want to tell you, if you're an artist out there, when you see an artist that's done a piece of art like this here, I can tell you right now, you look at that art and you say, and an artist will say, oh, it took me 3 months. It took me 5 months. It took me all this time. I assumed you spent just so much time on this. When you told me 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, it just doesn't really make sense. And that was really it. It's just amazing work. That is an incredible gift, yeah. I think the artwork, I've tried to encourage Vassula that I think that many people would love to have that art, and I've tried to encourage her to create some, I think from her would be an absolute gift, signed art, she clays. And so anyways, I've been a little bit of an instigator here trying to get her to put that art out there and sign it, and I think it would raise money for the...
We'll get them in the pilgrimage.
For the House of Poors and the what?
Yeah, we will get them in the pilgrimage.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Well, and again, I want to share so we don't lose track of time here, but for everybody, the pilgrimage again. Okay. So, listen, I didn't know much more than you all. I'm not an expert in any of this, and I looked at it all, as you will, for face value, and when I met Vassula. And I will say to you that I expected the 9 days out there, people say to me, how can we go, Malcolm? How can we go to this event? I had some people yesterday say to me, how can we get to this pilgrimage? So from what I understand, it's all on tlig.org. Is that right?
Yes, you can subscribe yourself.
Subscribe, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's information about it there, right?
It is. Everything is information there. There's the whole program there.
Okay.
It's 9 days. Why? Because there's the arrival date, which we don't do anything. We just arrive. People arrive from different countries and different hours. Right. And then there's the departure date. So take away those 2 dates.
Right.
It's left to us. The rest.
But when I've seen the itinerary, it's very impressive. Every day, they've got it down to really, so they've done this a couple of times, you can tell, because you can only do that when you have experience in organization to know what's happening each day like that. But anyways, what I want to share with people, for me, if you will, people have asked me this question, and I said, you go to the site, because I really don't know much more about it, I'm sorry, but I know it's all there. But I looked and I asked how much it cost. I figured this thing has got to be pretty expensive to go to. You're going to have the hotels. They stay at very nice hotels and very comfortable. And your
3 meals a day.
All the meals are all part of it too.
3 meals.
And that's all part of it.
Part of it.
And the tour guides and all of this here. And it was, I could not believe the price.
I think it was about 1,000.
That's what you said.
1,000.
Something like that.
Yes.
Whatever it is. So we don't have to know exactly.
$1,000.
Whatever it is, it was very, very reasonable. I could not believe it.
Yes.
I could not believe it. So,
yeah.
So obviously this is another gift back, and the key is, and you get to, again, the attendance can be 700-800 people at one of these pilgrimages.
Today, as of today, we have almost 700 people.
700.
And we're not yet in the month of August.
So this is going to be an extraordinary pilgrimage, obviously. You've got, and the clergy, all the clergy will be there again, and it's probably may have, what's the record?
They will be kind of speeches like dialogue in the mornings, like 1 hour or 2 hours, yeah. But then the rest of the day we go and visit sites. But it's good to have the dialogues, because that is meant to be like, let's talk about how we can approach one another.
Right. I want to take the last few moments, and I want to share with you, real briefly, that, in my work thus far with Vassula in her time, and in these past few months, I really enjoyed meeting her and enjoyed the message, and it's really, there's so much more to this, that we're only scratching the surface here. We're at the very, very beginning, I'm sure, of a very big and extensive journey ahead. But now that I have the knowledge I have, and having read the book and really talking through with Vassula and looking at the pilgrimage and the things that are just significant, this is a worldwide development, a worldwide movement, if you will, of bringing back this unity. Vassula shared with me recently, and I want to share it with you all right now, a personal message. And I just want to, just a little bit of this, just for you to understand. And this was a message she received from the Lord just recently that we actually shared, Vassula and I, at a spiritual town hall we just did, that you'll be hearing more about ahead. I won't tell you much more today about it, but you'll hear about it through True Life in God that we had the pleasure of doing with a live studio audience and everything. And I want to share just a little bit of this with you. I haven't read this live before, but I'm going to do it now. Vassula had read this, and this was a message she had delivered to me to say, Malcolm, this I want you to see, and this was something that I've received from God that needs to be shared with you. And here it is. Be my ambassadors, for all you do in my name will be as though I myself were appealing through you. And the appeal you will make is to be reconciled to me, your God. This should be your theme, to glorify me, laboring for me. Your God will lead you to sanctification. Remain in me, working with a spirit of holiness, and so with the fear of the Lord in mind, your services will take root in me, for they will win people over to me whose minds have been blinded by the god of this world. The message goes on a little bit further to talk about distractions, and that we get distracted very easily in this world, obviously. And I want to leave you with just a thought that I've been sharing with Vassula in the last couple of days and spending some time with her. And what I see, my friends, is it all comes down to our personal commitments, each of us. It's what I call the ripple effect. We all know that if you take a rock and you throw it into the pond creates a ripple that just comes out as such, right? And you see sometimes those posters that are up on the walls that get people to be encouraged to be more successful, or to be more innovative, or to do something in your life that is better than others. And so it's a ripple effect, and you're going to impact other people. Well, as I shared with her, this ripple impact is, I think, in my opinion, really what this movement is about, this true life in God and the pilgrimage. And this is my opinion now, in my words, as far as we all have a personal commitment in this life to ourselves. I call it personal responsibility. I talk about it all the time to you on all the things, on radio, television, podcast, all the things that we share back and forth with you. And that point of this is that this ripple effect is our personal selves, our family, our friends, the people we meet on a daily basis. In our travels, the people we meet. Vassula getting on an airplane and traveling across the ways and talking back and forth with, you never know who you're going to meet on a daily basis. I always look at it as very interesting and a blessing to take that moment of time and just appreciate the people who you are surrounded with, and the positive things that can come out of all of that. So that's what excites me, I guess, about all of this, about everything. Is that I think there's a bigger mission here for all of us to play in, whatever it might be for you. And I'm not here to judge or suggest to you what it might be, But I think there is a mission, and I certainly know a lot of, not to bring politics into it, but a lot of our Republicans and Democrat friends know both, that there's a lot to happen ahead, and the Christian movement is alive and well. So this ripple impact of personal responsibility needs to ripple around the world, and it needs to involve others, and it spreads like contagious, if you will. It just continues to spread and involve people. So I want to thank you for joining me on this Sunday broadcast again. The Ninth Pilgrimage, you find out more about it, tlig.org. Very easy. And you'll find out more about True Life in God. Again, I've told you what I know. I've looked at some of the things. I've read the book, Heaven is Real, but So is Hell. It's a great mission. Vassula is, there's no doubt in my mind, a special, special person. Somebody who I've had the privilege of meeting, and just inspired me, with her message and her mission, and as big as it is, it's bigger than her and bigger than everyone else that is around us. And for that, I said to you the very first time I met you, we can all learn something from you, whatever your faith is, you remember.
Amen.
Yeah. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Malcolm.
It's Malcolm out again, folks. Thank you for being with me. And remember, get involved, get loud.